Welcome. This is a gentle yoga flow to help us find power physically in our bodies. And I find that when we experience power in our bodies, it can, for me, be an experience of feeling that base of support that is underneath me. That's my foundation when I move. And the cool thing about this is you don't have to move a lot. And you also don't have to move in really intense ways to find that power. It can be subtle and it can be gentle. And that's what we're going to be exploring in this class. We will be doing all these movements lying down. So find a comfortable place in your bed or on the floor. If you're on the floor, having a yoga mat or a blanket to support you. And you can also, if you'd like to have a blanket with you as a prop, this can be nice to have under your head when you're lying down to start. And we'll have some options to use this in some of our poses as well. So you can have that. And otherwise, that's all we need. So we'll go ahead and start lying flat on our backs. And placing that pillow or that blanket under your head if you would like to have some support. And if it's available in your body, bringing your knees up toward the ceiling with your feet just resting on the ground, about hip width distance apart. And find yourself just landing here. This is a constructive rest pose. You can rest your hands either to your side or on your belly, or anywhere else that they'd like to settle here for a moment. And this is a pose that anytime during this class, if you need a break, you can return to this pose. This is a wonderful grounding pose that releases the psoas muscle and helps release your spine. And as you settle in here, allowing any thoughts that are here to be here, any emotions, instead of thinking that we need to make them go away, let's give them a little bit of space for a moment. To catch up with our body. And I invite you to settle into a feeling of rest here. Whatever the day's looked like for you so far, allow all the effort that you've done today to just melt. And let your muscles rest on the support of your bed or the floor that's holding you. And what does that rest feel like in your body right now? And where do you notice it? I'm noticing a little bit more peace in my face and my head space, and a little bit more space in my chest. Just noticing what you notice in your body. And if it wants to, inviting that feeling of rest to spread and expand a little bit in your body, to touch other parts of you. Maybe tucking your chin a little bit to release the back of your neck, Maybe turning your head a little bit from side to side. And you might even notice as you're breathing that your inhales might want to just settle a little bit into the back of your throat, since we're becoming a little bit heavier here on the floor. And maybe even constricting your throat muscles just slightly as you're breathing in, and allow that air to come to the very back of your throat if it wants to, if that feels okay. This is an ocean breath, or in the Sanskrit, this is called Ujjayi breath. And we're making that kind of ocean sound as we take in fresh oxygen. And you can let the exhale come out through the nose, just nice and smooth. Inhaling again into the back of the throat. And allowing the exhale to happen at its own pace. Take a couple of more breaths just like that. Another translation of Ujjayi breath is vitality breath. And so seeing if this breath is maybe bringing a little bit more energy into your system. And we'll support that energy with some subtle movement now. I want to invite you to press your feet into the floor as strong as you can, not Hulk smashing here, but bringing some real strength into your feet and into your legs. And notice the charge that is in your lower body now. Notice the heat maybe that's building between your body and the ground underneath you. And as you hold that, see if you can also hold on to that rest that we began this practice with. So feeling that effort in our body and also that rest at the same time. Just see if you can hold both of those feelings. As we're feeling some heat maybe building up in our legs. And you might also notice that this action is pressing your back further into the ground underneath you. So this is stimulating all of your back muscles to work as well. And you can let that go. And notice how your back moves as you let go of that effort in your feet and legs. And let's try that again. Let's press our feet down into the floor. This is like our lying down mountain pose. And you can think of even the shape we're making with our legs right now as kind of like a mountain. There's a stability in our legs, and even the shape of rising up from the ground like mountains do. So holding this posture, it doesn't look like we're doing a lot here, but actually there's a lot going on in our body. You might even notice that charge kind of creeping up into your upper back as we're doing this again, holding this. And let's add some support into our bodies with our arms now. Let's bring our upper arms, pressing them down on the floor, and reach our palms up toward the ceiling. Palms facing each other. So now we've got a solid base that runs from our feet all the way up our back and our upper arms and into our shoulders. And just notice how that feels in your body. And if your body wants to take a few shimmies here, if it's uncomfortable to stay still while holding this movement, feel free to do that. If you like the still movement, you can hold this. And keeping the breath nice and restful, nice and smooth here as we do this. And then let that go. One more time, let's press maybe our head this time with our upper arms and our shoulders, our back and our feet onto the floor. And let that go. You can windshield wiper your legs a little bit from side to side. We'll move into some hip circles now to release any tension that might be in our hips. And we'll marry this with a bit of a balance exercise. And let's start on whichever side you prefer. I'm going to start with my right side. We're going to use our right side as our anchor for this movement. So go ahead and press your right upper arm down into the ground and your right foot down into the ground, and then lifting your left leg up. So foot is off the floor as high as it wants to go. It might be just a couple inches off the ground. You might have it available in your body to bring the knee pretty close to the chest. It doesn't matter how far you get off the ground, but it just matters that you find a movement that's comfortable for you. And if you want to support with your left hand, you can place it on your hip directly or kind of at a midpoint on your thigh or on the top of your knee, just to kind of help guide it. And let's draw some half moons with our knee. Just kind of making a half circle with our hips to open it out to the left and then guide it back in toward the midline. And while we're doing this, keeping our right side body nice and strong, nice and supportive. And let your left knee play a little bit, making shapes and movements that help release any tension that you might be feeling or that feel really good in your body. You might even, if it feels okay, make some full circles with your knee. And taking a couple rounds of that and then maybe switching directions. And checking in with the pace that your body wants to go. Is your body wanting faster movements or slower movements? Just noticing that and then adjusting. And you might even guide the knee kind of north and south, kind of up toward your chest and then away from your chest, if that feels okay. You can even extend your foot out as you guide your knee away from your chest if you want that challenge. And let's just take a couple more movements here, finding your appropriate edge. And you can let that left leg come down. You can relax the right leg, relax the right arm. And take a deep breath here. And just notice how your left side body's feeling now, how your right side body's feeling. Maybe notice any differences between the two since we've worked on one side. Beautiful. And we'll come to the other side. We'll anchor into our left side body now. So pressing the foot nice and strong into the floor, pressing your upper left arm down into the floor with your palm facing up. And then from that power base, lifting up the right leg. Again, just as high as it wants to come. You might have more range of motion on this leg or less range of motion on this leg. It's very common for us to have differences on different sides of our body. So checking out how this leg feels. And again, you can bring your hand to your hip to support, or to your thigh or to your knee to kind of help guide your movements here. And we'll just ease in with some half moons, coming out to the right and back into the midline. And back out. And back in. And paying attention to how this is squeezing different muscles in your body and how that feels. And coming into some full circles with your knees, if that feels okay. Your circles can be as small or as large as you want them to be. And keeping that balance nice and firm on your left side. You can reverse directions of your circle if you'd like to. And find that rhythm that feels good in your body. Maybe coming north and south again with your knee, kind of up into the chest and back down. And if you want the challenge, extending your leg fully out and back up into the chest and out and in and out and in. One more time, out and in. Awesome job. You can rest your right foot down on the ground, rest your left side. You can extend your legs now a little bit and maybe windshield wiper your feet from side to side. Just stretch out all of those muscles that we've been working. And from here, we're going to come into a couple of somatic movements that I learned from Sarah Warren. And the magic in these somatic movements is really in how slow we do them. So I invite yourself to think like a sloth in these movements, because what we're doing is pendiculating the muscles. So we're really intentionally gonna kind of constrict some muscles and then release them gradually. And we're actually teaching our nervous system to let go of stress that those muscles might be carrying unconsciously, that maybe needs some help unwinding. So from your position lying on your back, I want to invite you just to turn over to whichever side is your favorite, your right or your left. Pick one side. I'm going to start on my right side. And we're going to come into a pose where we are making the shape of a chair with our body. And you can have your pillow under your head again for this. You can also have your pillow or your blanket in between your legs as we do this. So just play with what feels good. But we will glue our legs together and bring our knees up so that they're a straight line coming directly from our hips. And then have our feet like a straight line right underneath our knees. So our calves are like the legs of the chair, our thighs are like the seat of the chair. And then bring your hips right so that they're a nice straight line underneath your chest. And if it feels okay in your body, you can have your bottom arm just extended straight up and kind of resting your head on that bottom arm. Or if that's not comfortable, you can have your bottom arm just kind of straight out to the side in a different way. So take a moment here to find a position that feels good. And once you do, planting your top hand right on your hip and rocking that top hip forward, and your knee is going to slide just a little bit forward, and then rock the hip back as far as it wants to go. And nice and slow, rock the hip forward and rock the hip back. Rock the hip forward and rock it back one more time. Rock the hip forward and rock it back. Beautiful. You can settle back into your center here. And from here, we're going to come into a side bend. And this is a great one to release tension we might be carrying in our backs. So taking your top arm and finding a place where it feels comfortable to land that hand on top of your head so that your elbow is pointed up toward the ceiling. If you can reach comfortably without any pain, you can wrap that top hand around your ear, your bottom ear. And this will protect your neck as we reach forward here in a minute. But I want you to find that power base again that we found at the beginning of this practice, with your side body that's directly meeting the floor. So press your bottom arm into the floor, press your bottom leg into the floor. And then from here, keeping your knees glued together, reach your top foot up toward the ceiling, and then reach your head with your elbow towards your midline so that they're kind of meeting in the middle. And then feel all that muscle work happening in your body, the strength of your arm, the strength of your bottom leg, the contraction in your obliques and your waist. And just hold that here for a moment. And then when you're ready, go ahead and count to 10 as you lower down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then completely let go of all of that effort. Let it melt. And maybe even, if it's available, wiggle that top shoulder around a little bit, releasing some tension there. And let's try that one more time. Let's press our bottom arm, bottom leg into the floor. And then this time, see if your movement upward can maybe float a little bit. Just float the leg up, your top foot, and float your upper body up towards your midline. Finding a place where your body tells you to stop here, hold that for a minute, feel all of that effort, feel that tension, and then melt it. Let's count to 10 again as we lower down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and completely let go. This is how we teach our muscles that they can rest. Allow yourself to pause here. And you can turn over to your back and just kind of take a moment again here to notice the difference between right side and left side. Is one side maybe a little bit closer to the ground than it was before? Any other sensations you might notice? And we'll take this to the other side. So very slowly, you can turn to your other side and find that position where your body's making a chair again. With your legs glued together, your feet directly under your knees, knees straight out from your hips, and your hips nice and straight under your chest. Your head resting either on your pillow or on your bottom arm. And again, if you want to, you can have a blanket in between your legs if that's comfortable. And we'll start with the leg sliders, planting your top hand on your top hip. Gently rock that hip forward as far as it wants to go. And rock it back. Rock it forward. And rock it back. Noticing muscles as we're rocking here that might be releasing, that might be creating a little bit more space. Let's do that one more time. Rocking forward and rocking back. Great job. Let's come into the side curls that we did before. And starting from our base, starting from our power, pressing that bottom arm into the floor, that bottom leg into the floor. That's going to support our movement. And then taking that top arm to the top of the head, or if it feels okay, wrap that top arm around to your bottom ear. And take a nice inhale. And when you're ready, on your next exhale, go ahead and reach the top foot and the top elbow up and around towards your midline. Find a place to stop and then feel all of that strength again happening in your bottom of your arms and your legs that are on the floor and in your obliques. Maybe the heat that's building in your top arm as well. Feel all of that. And release to the count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Completely relax. Completely let go. I'll take a couple of breaths here just to be still. And we'll do that one more time. Finding your base again with your bottom limbs. Wrapping that top arm around your head or your bottom ear. And when you're ready, go ahead and lift your foot, lift your elbow, lift your head towards your midline. Pause. Feel the tension that you feel. And melt it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Completely rest all of your muscles. Let them all go. Let them sink into the ground, into the floor underneath you. And take a nice deep breath. Take the deepest breath you've taken all day. And slowly make your way to your back. You can stretch your legs out long if that's comfortable for you. Maybe resting your hands on your chest or on your belly. And we'll end here in a Shavasana, giving your system time to integrate all of the work that we just did. If you enjoyed that Ujjayi breath that we began with, maybe inviting that into your breathing experience again, letting the air come into the back of the throat. Taking note of any sensations you feel. And letting them be. And take a couple more breaths to linger with yourself if you'd like to. My dog is next to me dreaming. Thank you for taking time